This is Breakfast Daily, just gone by what's pause. Interesting conversation there, considering it takes me about 5 minutes, to climb the stairs from the car park to this studio and to have the fastest man in Ghana.
I know, right?
You can just rub yourself and you can share in that
let the anointing come small.
Follow me. I did it, But it's not time to get into our communities, and look at issues going on in certain areas of the country. Now we are in the Christmas season, and you know that around this time the Harmattan is also very present with us. One thing that often occurs when there's Harmattan or when the dry season is here is fire outbreaks. And already we are recording some unpleasant news as far as fire outbreaks are concerned. We will be going over to the northern region now. My colleague, northeast region, my colleague
Alabira.
Aminu Alabira has a report of a fire outbreak. Let's look at that. When we come back, we'll also look at other areas of the country where we are recording fire outbreaks. But first, let's go to the northeast.
On Monday evening, Lipusi community in the Nanumba North municipality was thrown into a state of shock when petrol drums belonging to a local petrol dealer caught fire, leading to several injuries and destruction of properties. Residents who say they were taken unaware by the inferno narrate how nearby houses caught fire immediately after the explosion. The inferno trapped persons who were in their houses, either cooking dinner or relaxing. Residents say they struggled to rescue the trap. 2 persons who were in a critical condition, including a 9-year-old girl, were referred to Tamale Teaching Hospital. One of the persons sent to Tamale Hospital is reported dead on Tuesday. City News visited the community to assess the extent of damage. 3 houses were burnt and several properties, including food produce, were destroyed. Here is a house owner whose house and properties were destroyed in the fire, counting his losses to City News.
And radio see no, I am massive, maintain because me am meeting me fear. I had me fear quan wakakra. See the amity and say a jack to me over fear. Me to me kabaye, me buy my busia for you now, my home. Nti a course of side do baby besides say my busia for you now, Jack will be a mamudo mark to hospital, and Nipa 116. And there, I asked a crama bakukura for my friend Enqua. Nti see a mijina he. Me won't dream me pa, me won't your course see, because a more and 3 man me who ya may say my busia for you now be a diarrhea passo. A then in Nash may be biash.
The assemblyman for the area also spoke to City News.
Yesterday that I saw the fire in this particular house. So we all rushed in and saw that there was some items burning there. And then I reported first to the VRE. They off the line and then we called NADMO to come and assist us. Before they got here, there wasn't access to get to this particular house. So the items have got burnt. And the casualties were 6 who were rushed to the hospital. And this morning, 1 was reported dead. So as I'm standing, I don't know where to start the story and where to end it. But what I know is that we need assistance for the affected person.
The 9-year-old girl whose legs got burnt tells City News that she was helping her auntie in cooking when the incident happened. Some of the victims are responding to treatment in the hospital.
All right, very harrowing images there. And I think that, we need to be very cautious at this time because it's not the first time it's happening. Of course, knowing how we are as human beings. It won't be the last time from us. But I also think that it's important for us to push out education on a regular basis, particularly because you have young people coming up all the time, and a lot of the times, you know, and it's not even only young people who fall prey to making mistakes, you know, with fire, but in the dry season, it's particularly, you know, important to remember that the slightest, you know, mistake, and of course, sometimes there are things that will happen in another season of the year. It won't trigger a fire.
No.
You know, but in the dry season,
of course,
it's a recipe for disaster.
I even have goosebumps, you know, looking at that. I mean, a young boy who is helping at home, and then this happens, and what's going to happen, you know, the Christmas season is just a short period. So after that, school and all these things, you know, the woman we just saw. I mean, this is very terrible, but I think that you've mentioned something very important, education. You know, oftentimes we just wait for things to start happening before we remember that we need to be talking about this. But I think that we need to be a bit proactive, you know, and ahead of the season, educate people, so we do not record huge numbers before we move in to do the needful, you know. And I think that now, because of COVID and road accidents, other issues, we've forgotten a little bit about
fire outbreaks,
you know,
because
and then
I remember
we are recording them now.
I remember there was a time some years ago, there was, you know, traveling through the highway to the north of Ghana. You see from the roadside all the way as far as the eye can see into the hinterland. Everything has been burnt. And for miles and miles and miles and miles you're driving, it's all burnt. Now, I heard that there's a culture of driving, you know, grass cutters and those kind of animals out of the fields into the open, so that it's easy to catch them, right? And so a lot of people, that's how they do it. They will set fire, you know, but their mind is not that I'm trying to burn the entire constituency, you know. They just, that's this area, drive a few of them out, and then, but then,
because of the dry winds.
Dry season, it goes out of control.
It's very, very necessary, you know, because another issue we have is because of the way we build. Sometimes it's very difficult, you know, even the fire service getting access to come help, you know, NADMO coming in to offer help when there are disasters like these. And you saw the reports, you know, that when the fire service came, it was very difficult for them to get access to the house, and to have 6 people in a household all in hospital at the same time, there is a big trouble. Now, from the northeast, let's now go to the Ashanti region, where we also recorded some fire incidents with some casualties as well.
Is in a state of denial after the incident. After struggling to save her first child and her mother, she was not able to save the 3-year-old daughter, Patience Ohimampao, who was trapped in the fire. As a mother who shares a birthday with her daughter, she has been left dejected as her plans for her 18th birthday and her daughter's 3rd birthday on 25th December have all been crashed. She has been narrating how the incident happened to City News.
It is na me ba ni timi nkasa. Ensunsu akata ha, eja no so aduru ha. Ye hu akola no, ana dan we so ye dan a ye kola entoma ene nchense nko a. Ye nem. Eye niema nko a dan ye mem. Unya ba bi kura mfa na nsi. Enti se na akola no, we de entoma achechire no, aba be hye mpana wa ha se na se. Enso agefo ne hwan. Sa ataminya wo bia no abawre mayi me ba na mame. Nana ye danyame ase so se me ma me ba na wono so me kope nsu kakala adigu nsu na adomfo tama yedum gya no na chese me ba na wa hye kola awia wonka nipa ho biem ti abema no amene ne dana mitimi yi no esebu ni di ni pia bonte me school ni ma me de ba ye me bibia tali we kura hye me no obi na de ma me efise me pie na me da adagya se ne kra wu se yo egya na na hye ya enye hwe se nipa nso a the sama and menya mesa akola woni bone da no a watima gina fi me nsem ya akola ketoa ti me dia mesra don fo sisi no mini ba bi da mini die medi me school ni me nyina ahye mini bibia akase esma se so me wi school ti andom me ne mo ame
According to officers from the Ghana National Fire Service, their timely intervention prevented the fire from spreading to other houses. A few hours after dousing the flames, the fire reignited and officers were called to the scene again to completely bring it under control. The Ashanti Regional Fire Commander, Henry Jiwa, has been speaking to City News on the incident.
We received a distress call around 2:50, so we quickly have to dispatch a fire tender to this place. As soon as we got here, we realized the fire was well alight and had engulfed almost all the place. So they quickly requested for a second pump, which Nook's tender was dispatched, and they were able to manage the situation. As along the line, they were informed that a 3-year-old lady has been trapped. So they tried as much as they could, and finally they were able to retrieve the body. However, investigation still continues. So far, about 14 rooms have been affected.
The landlady of the building, whose granddaughter died in the incident, Mami Ekuefriye, says they have lost almost all their belongings. She's thus calling on the government to come to their aid.
Na ntoma ne de ebe na ka be nwotwe na afi ye wo fine with them ye wo di freezer kese ebe se valanda yiso ye sa wo enketwa fridge nketwa nso miensa ene ye wo TV last wide de kese nso ho ene ye wo tape no ye wo be 20y ene wo dem ho and you bucket no my tonton bucket any pine no and rubber no and also a wademo and then semina near my near manina so and what provisions yet of provisions in our demo and more no bag back 35 and so now a demo be percent and buying or boame.
The assembly member for Tikrom electoral area, Stella Oduro-Boateng, who visited the scene with her unit committee members, has joined the call for the fire victims to be supported by government and other philanthropic groups.
Now they don't have any place to sleep, and all their belongings have been. So they need help from individuals and then the government.
Right now we have our Bureau Chief for the Middle Belt, Edward Opon-Marfo, who put this report together, joining us on Breakfast Daily. Thank you very much, Edward, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Rima.
So where exactly are you now?
At the moment, I'm at Tikrom, but it's within the adjacent municipality of the Ashanti region. So for those from Kumase, you will actually get to Adjusted proper, but you branch towards that Adakojachi area, and that's an area here called Tikrom. That's where this fire incident happened earlier hours of yesterday.
And how is the mood in the community now?
For those particularly around this area, because a 3-year-old died, they are still in a state of mourning, and a number of properties also got destroyed, and so people are still counting their losses. They have nowhere to sleep. They have they actually don't know where to even continue from based on what has happened. And at the moment, authorities have not been able to come to their aid, although NADMO officials have been here. There has not been any form of support, so they are just stranded.
Now, do we know exactly what happened?
Well, all the people who have been talking to so far have not been able to tell us what exactly happened. I said they woke up in the middle of the night and they heard that it was a fire outbreak, and so they started trying to get their loved ones to get out of the place. Some also tried taking some of their belongings, and so that was what happened. For now, no one actually knows what really happened. It's just been speculation. Some people suspect that it could be arson, but that has not been confirmed by any of the fire officials, and no one can really point to any form of evidence so far.
How many households were affected?
Well, the normal houses, the houses here that I've counted so far, are about 14. But the landlady tells me that she also created some other makeshift structures. So, there were 7 other makeshift structures here. So together, that would be about 21. But for the official houses here, are 14 so far.
Now, tell us, paint a picture to us. How is the area like, where the fire occurred? How close are the houses? Just let us know, give us more details.
Okay, so let me just give the picture. With the picture here, this side, almost all the houses actually were affected. And aside this location that we are, there are some other houses that are behind this place. There were some stores as well. There were people who were renting. So it's like a family house where there are family members who have been staying here for a very long time. There are some other people who are also renting here. And so all these things got burnt. People used to sell various items. We had materials, we had a number of things that also got burnt. So far, in all, there were 14 rooms, like I indicated earlier, 14 rooms. And then out of the 14 rooms, there were 7 makeshift structures. And so that is just for clarity. So 14 rooms, 7 makeshift structures. And all these ones have been totally destroyed. Let me try talking to the young lady whose daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, died in the fire incident yesterday. She is Portia Amwa. She happens to be an 18-year-old. In fact, she'll be 18 on 25th of this month. And coincidentally, she shares a birthday with the child who died, who is 3 years old. This lady happens to be an SHS student as well. Well, you are still crying. And when I even got here earlier, you were somewhere isolated and you were still in that mood. You were not really in a very good mood. How is the feeling like for you? My own Senate said, my own, I didn't see you no. Diana, Echo Swaju.
Me creature, me soon say, me be family, I may want me, Jamie, mammy, coy. Member no, I call us him, and I do one. I could pen pass it, baby, I could share quite that. Me when you see no soap. Tame Johnny, I can see no me banning bommy didn't support she be me men or shama me. So you me penny some mammy banner as a maculana kaya no make a name me ya. Send me in no. And ya mean sua, and ya she. Kanu no bomity coffee me say you go no so I was she. And only as a mamma can I am a friend and you meet me dear. Say, Yamia do my cabus me see and I'm school. Many bophobia. Mini baby, I made that mini dear measure, mini dear meti.
Yo, and also bien. So basically, what she has been talking about is that when the fire incident happened, she has 2 children. And so she used to stay with one of them, the male. And so she was able to save that young boy. But the lady, the deceased, used to stay with her mother. And so they were in the same room. But she was not able. The mother even collapsed and they tried to take her out. But they were trying to look for the young lady, that is 3-year-old, but that was very difficult. So they later in the fire, she heard the daughter shouting that, Portia, come and save me, can't you come and save me? They were not able. Fire officials came and they later found out she was burnt as if she was burnt beyond recognition. But let me ask her where she has been sleeping with the mother and all that. It's say see and here na mother.
Right, Mammy, I don't forbid the cabin and no fan of Kodaka. When name me back to an media me da. A children no me da. Me daddy be safe from what day anymore.
Na it is say an adjono crano, a Janet sign a so be.
Johnny so be na boy for be doom, and none of a crescent so and I do.
Na Musro say a jar atoha na the essing in a china baby cran moda ho, and no mattress ni be so daso.
And yes, she may not make a platform down.
Now, Papa, what down nature, and to moon slow say be a Jan bit my son, so be a man. I didn't know down.
Any baby.
So basically, she tells me that they have been sleeping. There's a portion of this building that I've seen where she slept with the mother. And according to them, they have no other place to sleep. So they just decided to stay there. So that's the situation here.
Eddie,
well,
please find out from her how far apart, is the mother's room from hers.
Yeah, and so if we through room no call mommy room no, it say see you were here actually you say it here. Hina na woda.
Baby, I made down here chair say flat.
And yeah, here today. Hey.
Me that side has say. And I me mene me ban so da so ne e honom. Enti e bo one no me phone na damage and smartphone e hiti ye. Me tani na shame na me hwehwe me ti me na enwisi akata wonyina na obi anso sore ye me nko a me free school bedru ye na nche me ba na me kasa so yare. It is ada na
my hu baby a esi ye na nkasa my uncle baby esi ye na nkasa e hin na obehu uba no e hin na obehu uba no
me ba na hana no da no shi nti e da me ne jiri ko ne so wa sei aya
enti
no nada enti mi soli na eja na twa ho ahia no me de mitimi fa me de ni mu pie na me fa akola ba ma ne to ne fa pa eto twene park ne so enti me ma me no so no e wo mada na me de ade abubo janim abopunu nim se ma me fa akola na mo soli na fia nyina ahye mani mu han e ho ahye nti hia me kire ho na me mbu na obi ansoli me fro obi amfi me enti me begina ha na me nko a me ntimi mbu me de ade aboma na me ma me kase ekofom ti asemu wa no twahweye obi do fo ka chem se me ma me mba na feja ni so nenya no kura nti me nua be me ya wo bai ana me kofre no na ebebuye ono so no abelanyisie no akonka hanyina obi atwina japade me so me ba me japade me ma me ne me ba na hia me ti ma fa hwe da mo be so me mo ebu na otwene to abonten ono so ayemele nyisie no so me yoba time ntimi mfiri mu me ma me su kokoma me twen na senka kranka de no koto abonte me ba hwehwe ha nyina me nya light mpo ana me de ahwehwe dan yi mu ni mafa me ba se na me ba no wode ntuma akekere ne ho akoda mpa bi a ekola ne ma wo ho wode ntuma akekere ne ho akohye mpa bi ase ya hase enam kane nti wono so ade nti me boni dia wonte atu jane bo abum na fefia no sana okase po otineni afena na ijana kam otineni o se po shampa chobe yime na mi wu mi triwini na ni gume ho mense na ni po sha me wu nti po sha wunyime ma me siro yime yo yime na mewu enti ni eti anse bibi adwiri kum na chese ku nsu na kasa ne kofo ma me mi wu no.
So basically she has been telling me as to how it happened. This stretch, this portion is where they discovered the baby, the child's body, and she was burnt beyond recognition. So she's telling us where exactly they found. That's what she just picked as one of the necklaces. That's a necklace that the young lady was wearing before the incident happened. So she's even trying to pick some of those things. Yeah, the baby. Right, so this is it. And so she tells us that she used to stay at the other end. So we'll just show you the other end of it too. The baby was just around the side with the grandmother, but the young lady, that's Portia Amwa, she was in a different side. So she tried coming in, but she was not able to save the baby.
Eddie, where exactly did the fire start from?
For now, they have not been able to tell how it started.
Okay.
They just realized that the fire was fast spreading to various areas. And so they can't really tell that, it started from this point or that point. Okay. Yes. But as we speak now, there are cracks within the building. that portions even keep falling and all that. So that's how it is. And so it's totally bent. It has been destroyed, and maybe they have to just start all over again. Frema, let me also try and get the mother of this young lady.
Sure.
The mother, she collapsed. We understand she collapsed, and they were able to help her. So she regained consciousness at a point. Let's get to her as well. Mami Ekuya Free. Baba City TV. So, also, say the end see Ankasa.
Dear Major by a dear minim, Mene Avaya Ketuano, and a form or down. And say Janice shown, and a mammy yam see me a minyani. Minyani and it is a jana to me. Cassia pa, and I'm so colan and son of a ba esra. Yeba suran yet, and you call down a one. And tea, and I'm a teen, maybe say, will be from me, mammy. Na me just kete and we say na ye hogumo. Nti me ye no. And I feel me tisa wo mu me baba ya no ni nua be ma wo mu bu pono no. Nti wo mu bu pono no a eno me bisa wo mu se na mu we. Wo mu se mame ye wo epono na chi fan sabra. Nti wo mu so me nsa no. Ene ye twe me e de me free kwa bonte. Me hu hwi bio e se na me hu bibia no ane se ase mewu enti wo mu bisa makola no kra na mehu mentime nkasa na maka bibi enti wo ma me na ba hwehwehwe afre ne se po mampe patience onye so ofre no a onye so ena o mu ye adwene se bia na okodan no a enie ma bi sakasaka gum enti dum jafo ne di nsuo no efa ho omusi ho omusi akola bia ne ho nti eche ejane ye kese pa no ene wo mu hu se wabeda aha nti sampa we no ne sidem ha empa we ne sidem na akola na kotwere empa no ho.
So Frema, she has also been telling us her account of the incident, and she has basically been corroborating what her daughter said. She happens to be the landlady here. She was with the baby, and at a point she was unconscious, so they even dragged her out. So she was also not able to even tell the whereabouts of the baby. So that's what has been happening here. So let's also try talking to some other people here.
Sure.
Let's try talking to some other people who are also fire victims. Mame, also, what's if you're happy?
Mame, no.
Okay, also Mame, no.
Uncola come uncola see. I'm a baby, no blood and bad. Yes, for crown, I'm scar cram, dear Bujua. Timor father day, Mam, Sakame, Mamma, man, and them. I'm the my sister, and cementing him, sealing him, lighting, I'm the mom was one more fat. And why I no more fast cementing, and yesterday being fear me and son. It's gonna be swine down bed, Diane. Emma and Colano, I quote them. One Musana. It's a benasemi issue. Emma and mammy, to soon or friend, catch him say, Jadis, sorry.
Eddie, can they speak up a little bit? We are struggling to hear her.
Mame, Kasaye, my wife.
May start for from. It's ye bias, ye be ya crying to me, rum and hokra. Me hu nyina hye kam koyi akola no wa hye me ya anyeye and they could see him.
Okay, so she was also around. She sustained some injuries. She is a widow, and she has been telling us how it also happened, basically. But she sustained injuries. One other thing too is that most of the people who were here who tried to even take some of their belongings or who were trying to escape, most of them sustained some major injuries, minor and major injuries. She was showing us some of them. The woman, that's Mame Ekuya Free, who happens to be the landlady, she also sustained some injuries. She was showing us some of them. And Portia Amo as well also sustained some injuries. But basically, they have been calling on authorities and other groups to come to their aid. And I think that's what she still wants to highlight. Did you now per se in paying for your boy?
I'm Ukrainian Kola Cameron, dress a cram and yibi. No man in a ash, me mention, no man in a ash. You couldn't need granny papa, or the funny about my boy. Na de mame mesɔle akuro bi na yi 5 cedi maa me amede akoto koko amene nkula na di nti aban ne maboa me.
So she's basically calling for support from various groups. She says that she has been taking care of her 6 children and she was not able to pick any of her belongings, and that even finding some kind of money to buy basic items has been very difficult. And that has been the general sentiment here. Yesterday when I spoke to the landlady, she made a similar call. Say, dear na who's paying for your bed to my boy. And as I say, dear na koso wajumankasa.
Dear koso majumudi. Sese my mobile into Mr. Otumfo and the abai and in Penningfo. So, Meboam, Naminia baby family to Namira ho and Rassi been dabon to many me bano and dabon to any baby I have many Porsche and then packet one any baby I had and I see and so any baby I had chinny man I could go. Say, me cry my emily a chimney. Inti, I want a Jano Jamison. Oh, inti, ye men, oh, I'm what you trying to foot on. Yet don't grow far fetty and to me, and ya packet them winning in ash. Say, a cancer as I be good, Miss Minibidi. Inti, Miss Abai. And then penning for, and then one de dano, and you would tune for some Mr. Madauroma, Mebuame, and my baby and family too.
And so, Frema, she has also been calling on various groups to come to her aid. She used to sell at a portion of this building, and aside from the kind of things that she was selling, a number of things, most of her properties also got destroyed. And so the fact that she has nowhere to sleep, she is not having any of her belongings with her, she wants government and other groups to come to her aid. She was specifically mentioning the Asantino Tumfo say to the second to also come to their aid as well. And so that's the situation here. But let me just chip in this. Yesterday, when the Ashanti Regional Fire Commander, Mr. Henry Jiwa, came here, he was making a point that because of the roofing, because there were a lot of woods around here, it made the fire spread easily. So she feels that's a major factor, and that when people are building, they should really consider some of these things. And as we're also heading to the Christmas period, she was warning people to be very cautious of fire so that they don't really get to experience some of these disheartening issues. But generally, the regional fire commands, they have been telling us that fire incidents have dropped in Ashanti region based on previous records. As at 2020, they recorded about they recorded 1,154 fire cases as at the end of November 2020. But as at this time, by the end of November 2021, they have so far recorded 970. That's 970 cases. So they feel that the cases are improving. That's by about 18% improvement. But I feel people should still do more to avoid some of these fire incidents.
All right, Edward, thank you very much for this update. Very, very important updates, and we appreciate what you've done this morning. We've also been joined in studio by our colleague Kojo Akoto Boateng, who is a co-host of City Breakfast Show. Kojo, good morning.
Good morning, Goku.
This is an area you know.
Yes, an area I know very well.
Yeah.
I know the town like the back of my hand.
Wow.
Yes. My mom's first house she attempted to build in Kumasi was built in Tikrom. We're building right next to the school. The project couldn't come to completion because at a point we realized that the land sold to her by the chief, a portion of it was going to be the Antois Road. And she had built to a point and they had to demolish. And that was all her life savings. So we used to go to Tikrom like Friday, Saturday, Sunday to come in to carry blocks and help out with the concrete works on site. So I know the town. From Fumesa to Kwamo, you branch off at the Jachi Junction. You go through Jachi, you descend, then you climb, and then you enter Tikrom. Tikrom connects to the Josu Jabin Road. It also connects to Antois.
Is it a big community?
Now it is. As at 15, 20 years ago when my mom was building. It was one of those typical Ashanti towns, very well laid out. If you enter the town, you see about the first few buildings that you meet are huge cocoa money, farming money story buildings, the ones you would see in Bantama and Ashtown and all that. Then you drive through the town, you see those story buildings on either side of the road, and then behind them you see nice compound houses with nice streets and everything. So it's a typical well laid out. That's back then. I've not been there the past 15, 20 years. But back then it was a proper town. Now they have a road constructed. Back then it was a dusty road with no proper drains. And as at the time we're building there, a lot of people within Kumasi were moving to Tikrom to buy lands. It's like people moving to Amrahia, Kaswa, Dodwa. So that's the type of town it is.
Now, watching this story and the conversation going on now, what do you make of all this fire outbreaks around this time of the year?
It's very sad. I want to speak to Portia and her family's plight. It's sad that at her age she's had to lose her child the way she did. And it's sadder, if that's a good word to use, that I don't think there's any social support structure at the moment to give her any respite, because it happened and this morning she's asking for help on radio and TV. If we had proper social support systems, we should have moved in immediately to offer some help. We should have given them shelter, should have given them food, we should have given them clothing, should have given them an assurance that the state will support them.
I'm even worried about her mental stability.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm talking about. So, and the fact that we know in our nationhood that disasters do happen, accidents do happen, and that after accident there should be a response. And these things happen all the time and we don't see the response. It's sad. She's a young lady, lost her child, her mother fainted, they've lost everything. The other woman has children, about 4 of them. Six children, lost their husband, had to get 5 cities from someone. If the local governance structure worked, the assemblyman of Tikrom and the chiefs would probably be working with the district assembly. In that case, it's under Jusso. So we'll be working with the Jusso municipal to get them some help. And all these 21 houses that have been burnt down, NADMO would have moved in immediately to offer help. This is the country we want. We want a country that can go to the aid of its citizens when they are their lowest. And at the moment, these people are at their lowest. There's a conversation to be had about fire outbreaks and how to deal with them, passive and passive fire protection, this, that. But beyond that, emergency help. I would easily relate this to somebody having healthcare emergency and there's no ambulance. It's so relatable.
Really. Of course, because considering that you wake up to a fire outbreak, you lose your child in the process, your mother fainted, she regains consciousness, and that night you had to sleep outside. You know, you and your whole family had to sleep outside because there's no one to talk to, no help.
Ghana should always have help standing by for its citizenry in instances like this. People must not appeal for help when these things happen. The state must be kind, the state must be empathetic, the state must be ready to go to the aid of its citizens when these things happen. And we don't see an empathetic state. It happened in Adina, it happened in Keta. People had to ask for help before NADMO moved in. And I don't understand why these things happen and every time it's appeal for help.
I like the phrasing you use, the state must be kind. I think that is probably one of the most profound statements I've heard this year. The state must be kind. I think that if the state was kind, we wouldn't be in a lot of the mess that we find ourselves in. You know, and I feel that this is a call, and we're making a clarion call to government, not political government, but I'm talking about a state where I don't feel that people are even emotionally moved when a problem like this has happened. It's like, yeah, okay, sorry, it's happened. Okay, have a good day, and we are gone. And literally, that's how people are. Very, very coarse, very crass, very insensitive to a situation like this, you know. And so that's why the begging happens, and that's why the crying out happens, and say that we need help. Where, like you asked, fire service was on the ground. Fire service should have reported to the assembly. This is the consequence of our trip out there. This is what we saw. Immediately, the assembly jumps into gear to say, this, where's Nadmo?
No, but
where's this?
it's
Where's
even
that?
disappointing, you know, because if the assembly is also positioning themselves like they don't know what has happened, then we have a bigger problem. Because if reports
For me,
are out there on TV and all,
I
you're not waiting
think
for fire
that
service
it's
to prompt
wrong
you.
that this morning they are asking for help.
Yeah.
What I would have loved to hear would be something like, so Edward asked the question, so where did you sleep last night? And the answer would be, well, last night, Nadmo brought us mattresses.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
big shift tents.
Yeah.
They moved us to the school. Tikrom has a big school. They moved us to the school for us to even sleep there, or the churches.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this morning we've been provided with some breakfast, and paramedics have attended to us. Something,
That's
so that you know that
yeah.
you live in a country that values your life and your well-being. And I think Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Gender, Social Protection, if by midday today,
they're
you
not
people
doing
have not
anything
organized anything for these people, it shows how unserious you are.
Yeah, no, I
at
agree
doing your
with
work.
you. We have the Bureau of Public Safety, the Executive Secretary, Nana Iya Akwada, on Zoom with us. We're going to ask him a bit about the issues with fire. Nana Iya, good morning.
Good morning, David, and good morning to your co-host.
Yeah.
And Kojo.
Yes.
Kojo has told me that he was going to be in a jacket. I would have been in one too. It looks great.
Yeah, so Nanaya, this incidents of fires that happen every year, this time around, I mean, it's getting to Christmas. Of course, it's Hamatan season, which means that the incidents will likely go up. What are your thoughts about, you know, what we are doing as a state to improve our lot, you know, year after year?
Well, if you ask me, I'll tell you very little. In fact, I'm tempted to say we are doing nothing, but just have to be charitable. We are doing very little, so very little. Regulation of spaces in Ghana is very poor, you know, and that itself threatens our health, well-being, and security on a daily basis, okay? This is not seasonal. On a daily basis, our very health, well-being, and security is threatened. So if you live in Ghana today and you have the opportunity of seeing the light of today and the dark of today and wake up tomorrow and you're safe, you've got to be very thankful, because our security is under threat. And I mean every bit of it. It's English. I mean every bit of it. Look, local authorities who are entrusted with responsibility to manage our spaces, ensure that there is compliance to basic rules of survival, are either not doing their job, or they have no clue as to what really they have to do. What they know how to do and do best is collecting taxes, levies, payments, and nothing more.
At the local assembly level?
At the local government system level, it's dysfunctional, completely dysfunctional. And I'm happy Kojo did touch a bit on it. It is the reason we see what we see on a daily basis. Why? In this instance, we have lost a 2-year-old baby. There have been instances where we lost a whole family, father, mother, and children, including grandparents. Okay, in this country, not many months from today, we are going to see all these things occur and recur. I'm sorry, but we even as civil society organizations, as advocates, media advocates, and so on, there seems to be a loss of steam. And I was watching Kojo closely. I have watched Kojo, I have listened to Kojo on radio, and his body language this morning had dropped. I don't believe that it has dropped because he is just sad, but because he's losing steam. Because there's nothing new that I would say today about fire that I haven't said in the last 12 years. The need to intensify regulation of non-commercial spaces, such as homes, churches, etc. LI 2249 empowers the Ghana National Fire Service to do so. NADMO, the Act 999, I think it's Act 999, or the new act that established NADMO, it empowers them to even go to the level of the community and form volunteer groups whose work will not only be to respond to emergencies, but also to work to prevent emergencies. So if all of these things are on paper nicely and they are not working, we should not expect to be picking such ugly and sad news on a daily basis. We will continue to pick them. And it's as a result of a dysfunctional, grossly dysfunctional local government system. We have unit committee members. We have assemblymen. All these guys are there. Their job is to go down to the ground and work. But they don't work. All they is to sit in assembly meetings, take allowances, get motorbikes and bicycles and tricycles, and be allocating community spaces to people at places where they do not have to. This is what is going on. Our local government is completely broken. It's dysfunctional. And so, as long as we are not addressing that area, we'll have to be doing firefighting in quotes on a daily basis. And that's why we are here this morning. Sorry.
Nanaya, thank you so much for your thoughts on this situation that we find ourselves. We appreciate your thoughts. Thank you. So that was Nanaya Akoda of the Bureau of Public Safety. Could you, the dysfunction of local government.
Yes, it's
what are we going to do? What can we do?
I think we all must take up the responsibility of finding out the right thing to do and also doing the right thing. Because the only way to do right is to do right. For example, I gave you the example of my mom having to build in Tikrom, and in the end, the house had to be demolished because she was building in land reserved for the Antwerp Road. Now, I think that if she had sought further information, she would have known that that land was reserved for a road, and she wouldn't have had to spend all her life savings buying that land and building the house for it to be demolished. Then she could have demanded a better land and a better thing to do. So I think that as a people, we should always be asking questions, the what's and the hows and the whys, so that so what is my role as a citizen? How can I make Ghana better? Why must I not do this? Why must I do that? I think because we are all part of the government. Now, the moment you try to create the right space around you and the right functions around you, then you can demand for it to be created in the larger community. You understand? That's what I feel. Over the years, we've talked about a lot of things. Look, even this fire outbreak, knowing Tikrom the way I know, if the state of the town is what it was when I was a boy 20 years ago, I'm not sure the fire could even have spread that way, because back then you enter Tikrom, there were streets between every house you could walk. But some of the videos and the things you've seen, see the houses
clustered now.
So with time, people are adding on, closing this, closing that, shutting that, and everything becomes a big mass of a space. So when there's fire here, it can easily travel to the next space. So I think that's one thing that we must pay attention to. But importantly, the dry season is here. If you check Global Forest Watch, they give regular updates on fires around the country. We are going to experience bushfires and farm fires. So those watching us across the country, this is the time you need to work on your fire belts. This is the time you need to work on fire safety for your farms. In our homes as well, we need passive and active fire prevention strategies. For example, you watch the video, you see Atakwame buildings which have been plastered with wooden ceilings and alu-zinc roofing sheets and then wooden doors. Now, if you use the right materials, you are using passive means of preventing fire. So things that are not easily combustible. So when you are building a house or when you are refurbishing your house, also try to use things that are not easily combustible. And you also have to have passive systems in place. Fire extinguishers. Let's not build on fire hydrants too. Let's put in fire doors. There are certain spaces we design such that when there's a fire, air is always coming in. You cannot shut the air that is coming in to feed the fire. So when we are designing spaces and we are renovating spaces, we need to ask the architects and the fire service. In fact, if you bring fire service to come and do an audit of your building, they can tell you all the things you need to do to passively protect your building and to actively protect your building. So let's do that. It's a big thing. We are losing millions of dollars a year to fires, lots of lives, and a lot of heartbreaking moments. And as a people, we need to do better to deal with fires.
You know, there's a comment she passed at the point when Edward was talking to her, and she said that she had gone to go and check her phone, and her phone was hot. You know, and it just occurred to me as they were talking that one of the things that we do a lot of in this country is inferior electronics, and a lot of inferior electronics causes fires.
It calls for a bigger conversation. You know, can they afford the right thing? Sometimes you know the good thing. Hold on. Okay. Sometimes you know the good thing. Education is one. Affordability is another.
No, fair enough. Why is Ghana Standards Authority permitting?
The truth is the difference in price of the inferior goods and the superior goods.
It's not much.
If you calculate, it's almost negligible.
No, but Kojo,
it's not much.
That's why I said education is one. You understand? Because sometimes even if you are
I'm working on a project and a project somewhere in East Legon, and the electrician brings some cables to site. I look at them, I see country of origin, I check everything. Where's the Ghana Standards Authority stamp? I check Ghana Standards Authority website. It's not listed as one. I'm like, bruh, you have to take them back. Go get me an Nexans cable, tropical cables, or Leroy cables. All three are made in Ghana. All three are approved. If the person is not using any of these three, send them back. You
know, you sat here and you just spoke about passive ways of preventing fire outbreaks in buildings and stuff. How many people know that? That's why I talk about education. Now, if people understand why they are doing certain things, they will be prepared to even spend more. You know, because if you are paying for something that the difference is just a few cities and you know this can kill me, people are prepared to pay the extra
because they know better.
Exactly, but they don't know, so they go, so I'm buying cables, they look the same, why must I pay so much for this? And I think
fire
that
service must actually step up their public education.
Absolutely.
They used to do that a lot. I think when COVID came and those things, they had to slow down.
Anyway.
We need to give them a good budget to do that work, because prevention is better than cure. Yes. Thank you too. And I think so.
Put it down, we'll sort it out later.
All right, so a big thank you to Kojo Akutubwati for joining us this morning.